Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So for decades, people have been trying to figure out ZZ Top's first album, Guitar Tone. It's an incredible album with one of the best guitar tones of all time. For many years, Billy has been very secretive about his guitar tone. So there is a lot of theories and a lot of information that surfaced, but nothing is confirmed yet. So in this video, we'll be discussing this. So one of the ways that a lot of people have theorized that he got his tone from is using a Marshall full stack. So the Marshall head that he was using was apparently a super bass 100 watt model. However, to me, it never made sense because Marshalls typically have this very big sound that is bright, but ZZ Top's first album is definitely none of that. Now, this might be true. However, I think he was probably setting them up very differently from everyone else, like no jumpering and maybe EQing them very differently from everyone else. But I still think, it's not likely. Now, the other theory is that he might have used a brown face Fender Deluxe. Now, the theory is coming from Suhr's website, which is the company everyone knows. They make guitars, pickups, amplifiers, and they have one model called the Suhr Ombre. Now, the Suhr Ombre amp is inspired by the brown Fender Deluxe, but the way it was marketed is that this is the amp to use if you're looking for early ZZ Top tone. Now, apparently the company are very sure that this was used back in the day by Billy Gibbons. However, there is no evidence that I could find that suggests that this is 100% a fact. And I know that Billy loved Fender amps a lot, whether it's tweed, brown, and even the black panel stuff he plugged into them. Now, I recently purchased the Tube Amp Doctor Tweed Deluxe. This is based on the vintage Tweed Deluxe model with the Circuit 5E3. Now, this is a very similar amp to the Suhr Ombre because basically this is the predecessor to that amplifier. And I gotta say, when I bought this amp, I was not necessarily looking for the tone of ZZ Top. It's definitely a huge bonus if that's the same tone. But I gotta say, when I was actually plugging into the amp and I was playing it, I was like, this is it. I'm not even trying to get the tone. But with my Les Paul into that amp, it's just perfect. It is ZZ Top's first album for sure. Now maybe the Suhr Ombre, Suhr has a point because I'm playing a very similar amp to the brown Tweed Deluxe. So maybe Suhr has a point because the amp I'm playing sounds very close to the brown one, because the difference between the Tweed and the brown face Deluxe was not huge. It was actually very small. So the amp actually sounds really good, better than I expected. On the internet, a lot of people will tell you that Tweed amps, when you crank them, they get fuzzy or fizzy and they start to crap out and, you can't get any clarity, blah, blah, blah. This is all not true. And the speaker that came with the amp is the perfect speaker for me. It is the P12R by Jensen. It's an Alnico speaker and it sounds absolutely insane. It has a very well-balanced cushioning around it. It's very hard to describe. It's just like very well-behaved. It's just such an amazing tone. Now, if you want to know what I mean, go back to ZZ Top's first album and listen to it. Now, please make sure you listen to the non-remastered one because the remastered one, it doesn't sound bad, but the original one is the original one and it doesn't have any of those extra effects. And I think they might have played with the EQ a little bit. Now, regarding the guitar, I'm pretty sure I'm getting as close as possible within what I have, at least, because there was literally a Les Paul on the cover of that album. Now, I know about Pearly Gates, which is the name of the Les Paul that Billy Gibbons used, but I don't want to go into too many details on how iconic that guitar is. So long story short is that it was basically a Les Paul into an amplifier, and I personally suspect it has to be the Tweed Deluxe. Now, it goes without saying that Billy Gibbons is one of the most dynamic guitar players of all time. So in order to get close to the tone, it's not just about the amp and the guitar. You need to play with the same dynamics he had. Now, apparently, he barely plucks the strings, like he has a very soft touch on the strings and the guitar. Now, one trick that I figured out also on how to get that tone, especially the early tone. Now, one trick I figured out also how to get the tone closer is that by rolling off some of the volume on the guitar. It's not too much, you're not trying to clean up the tone, you still want that overdriven sound. But what that does is that it takes off some of that high end and it keeps a lot of that woolly sound and character of the guitar. So I'll demo this, okay, but I'll be plugging into another amp, which is the Vox AC30. And I'm using the speakers in the cabinet, which are the Blue Alnico speakers. Now, the reason why I chose the AC30 is because I wanted it to be a challenge. So AC30s usually have this brighter sound. So I want to see if this trick will work with a variety of amps. So that's it for this video. It's a very simple one for today. And I just had some thoughts that I wanted to share because this is an incredible album and I will take any chance to discuss ZZ Top. And hopefully one day we'll get a confirmation from the man himself on which amp he used on that album. Now, last but not least, make sure you practice the parts because that's the most important thing in getting close to the tone. And please like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you share this video on the gear page. Thank you.